Right, well, perfect. Thank you for joining us. The whole idea today, right, is to talk about Microsoft Surface for education. And so I'm Jonathan Scott, as you guys well know. I lead the Surface division for the UK and EMEA over here at Insight. And who are you guys?
Oh, great. Thank you, John. Connor, I'm Raj Shee, and I lead the Surface AI strategy at Microsoft UK.
And my name is Conor Letham. I'm the modern work specialist for education in the UK.
Perfect. So we're going to talk about a lot of education today. We're going to talk about colleges, we're going to talk about universities, but mainly we're going to talk about schools. And what I wanted to talk to you, especially Conor, about was, let's start with a big question. Why is particularly pros, right, and the Pro 10, so successful in schools? Why do we find that lots and lots of schools keep buying these? Love to get your view on this, right, and what you find.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's really to do with the form factor and what it can do as a medium for our schools and for our students. So whenever a student is using our device, they can use it multiple ways. They can use it with either the keyboard, or they can use it with their fingers, or they can use a pen. And that means that actually you have these different mediums you can negotiate with, even as well for video and as well microphone too. So you can use verbal commands as well. And this means the student has the capability of being able to learn the way they want to, or for teachers to teach the way they want to, but also encourages those nuances that we have with education, such as that handwriting, that learning that we encourage, particularly in early years and throughout their journey, until a point where students are more ICT literate. They tend to then type a lot more and get ready for either higher education or into the workforce.
Superb. And so one of the things we were talking about earlier was that we do quite a lot of pro, particularly in schools, but not so much about laptop. So we've had a few customers, particularly I think FE, that we've done a handful of laptops for them. What do you find when you're out and about with these customers?
Yeah, laptops aren't as flexible as tablets. When you see students using tablets as an example, you'll find them using it for recording stage productions like drama, to experiments in physics and chemistry within classrooms, and having that wider angle camera that we have allows our students to be able to do that. Laptops, they are taking up more space. They aren't really built so much for that connectivity with either touch or with pen. But we do find them more popular within further education and higher education, because that's where, as I mentioned, you start looking at career and further education. You are typing a lot more, and it's about that engagement by typing a lot quicker than actually writing or making annotations. But still, with those options in mind, you can still do that with our laptops.
Perfect. So we've got a range of devices available. We've got a few on the table. This is a Pro 10, the Intel Core Ultra one. Lovely piece of kit. Like I said, it's probably the majority of what we do in schools, particularly for one-to-one schemes, so that I'll come on to in a minute. But of course, we also have things like the Surface Go. We've got a laptop studio lurking around somewhere. There's a few other bits and pieces out there. I kind of wanted to get your view on the different sort of profiles of teachers, students, who likes Go, who likes Pro. And I know there's not a one-size-fits-all approach, but once again, Raj, Conor, what do you find when you're talking to customers? What do they care about? What works? What doesn't work?
Yeah, so we do what we call persona mapping. So we look at which devices are suitable for which audiences. And that also extends to students as well throughout education, as well as behind the scenes in education. So we think about those in admin roles, be your HR, your IT, your exec level. It's all the same when we go across industry. But when we think about students, it's a little bit different in that journey. So there's either one of two ways. Either student has a device that they use throughout their entire academic journey. So be it from year 7 all the way up to the end of sixth form or college, they might have one Surface Pro device that they use. And because of the sustainability that we have and the driver support that we do, the long-term driver support that we have, it means that that device lasts the test of time, and furthermore so. The other option is to go through a step change in devices throughout the academic journey. So that could be something like, say, a Surface Go for maybe 2 or 3 years, then a Surface Pro for maybe the rest of the journey, or even up to a Surface Laptop Studio in the college kind of years that you have there, sixth form. And that means that you are getting the benefit of a bigger screen, you're getting benefits of more capable hardware underneath the hood, so that you can then take that into the next step of your journey.
Yeah, it's really interesting you say that, actually. As you were going through it, you reminded me of it. There's a certain customer in one of the home counties that we work with, And Laptop Studio 2 is sort of the perfect choice for the students doing things like computer-assisted design.
Yeah.
So it's pro all the way through until I think it was basically sixth form, and then they specialise on studios, which is really cool. Because we
That's
don't see a hell of a lot of studio in education, and then we find out about these use cases for them, for those power users. It's really quite cool. Again, it's my favourite device. It's the one that I use.
And it's graphic design, it's
Yeah.
media, it's coding. There's these specialist subjects that actually certain devices make much more sense for, so we can cater to those specific students.
And so there's a few things that we're going to talk about with the security and the portals and things. But just before we move on to that, I just wanted to talk about one-to-one schemes. And I'm going to ask a question which I do know the answer to, but I'm going to stage it. What is a one-to-one scheme, Connor? Why is that so important to schools?
So a one-to-one scheme means that the parent can purchase a device on behalf of their student, and they can either bring their own device or they can actually select a device from a catalogue, which we're seeing a lot more traction with. And we're working alongside yourselves with Insight's own catalogue. So we're collaborating in that space and building a Surface catalogue that allows you to say, I want a Intel Surface Pro 10, do I want the Ultra 5 or do I want the Ultra 7? But making sure that has the minimum specification, say, of 16 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage or even higher. So making sure that everyone has that parity throughout the entirety of that, again, that journey in education, but throughout the entirety of the classroom, as opposed to people bringing in different devices. That means that some people don't have touch, some do. It means that some people benefit and some don't. But it allows for parents to choose kind of which devices they want for their students, how much they want to spend there, but all with one easy design kind of catalog system. So one-to-one means that really parents get to choose their students' journeys, and that's really important today, of course, with where we are.
And you'll know why I asked that, right? We support all of those scenarios for our
Absolutely.
customers. One of the things we also do as well is we support them with the accessories and things like cases, particularly with Key Stage 3. These are really nice devices. We don't want people dropping them on the floor.
Yeah.
So there's a range of accessories and bits and pieces we can provide to help. But another thing you mentioned, and this is where I'm going to look to you, Raj, to help us with this one, is things like the manageability and standardization. I hear a lot of feedback on Surface that it's really sort of easy to manage. We have a lot of customers that have moved from things like iPad to Surface, one of the reasons being manageability. But we can go a step further with Surface, right, Raj? And I was hoping maybe you could talk about some of the portals, some of the newer things that have come out actually, and why that matters to customers. Why is that important?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Surface provides that simplified end-to-end sort of IT management experience and the whole device management experience. Because, from the moment you turn on a laptop to the time you're in your apps and your experiences and your workflows, it's almost seamless and, within seconds. So, say you turn on your laptop or you have Windows Hello enabled, you've got that enhanced sign-in security or passwordless sort of authentication process, whether, you don't have to type in passwords, or you can have your, schools or educational institutions sort of, monitoring the sort of app policies. Yep. And let you in accordingly. And once you're in, obviously, from the time you deploy, configure and customize the device for the right sort of, use cases and personas, or, whoever the students are, whether that's to improve, learning outcomes, to make the lives of teachers and teaching staff easier. We've got that whole sort of, endless sort of flexibility and control in terms of how you use the devices. But when you have a portal, like say the Surface Management Portal, it provides like a single pane of glass in terms of how you manage devices, say across your entire Surface or device estate, which devices are compliant, which need updates, is there any malware or threat detection in place? Are students sort of staying compliant? Or you can roll out policies across your business units or across teams, across student groups, or staff and teachers. So you have that sort of level of control and sort of flexibility in how you manage your devices. And we've got the most seamless and secure experience, because not only do you make it easy for the end users, but also for IT teams, because now they've got that peace of mind. We've got the incredible Surface IT Toolkit, which they can use again within the Surface Management Portal, or also as a standalone app that's natively running on the laptops, and that gives you again more flexibility and the ease of use to manage devices, erase data, or asset tagging, and all kinds of incredible IT tools and capabilities, and that really helps you secure and again put the guardrails in place.
Absolutely, and it's really interesting you say that, because it's something that we've talked about for a long time, and the feedback is still so good. Is that single pane of glass? It pops up a lot as a buzzword, but actually, when you have 20, 30 portals to manage for security tools, devices, whatever, particularly in a school environment, having everything in one place actually makes a huge difference. I'd love to stay with you, Raj, on this one, because you and I were talking about this before we started recording. The accessibility features within the devices as well. So you and I have been to the human factors labs and seen some of the things that they do and how obsessed they are with the quality. I was wondering if maybe you could talk to us about some of the things that maybe aren't immediately apparent to an end user, which means why these things score so highly when we do things like an ITT and accessibility comes into it. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, Surface devices are really, built and engineered in a way to provide you the most sort of interactive, natural experience. So from the moment you touch the screens, or you've got that best-in-class inking experience where you're, annotating, as Conor mentioned, or, you're drawing, or you've got that almost, pen-to-paper-like experience on our devices. But more importantly, what if you couldn't type physically? Or if you needed assistive technology or additional adaptive accessories, or you needed, for example, to command using your voice. So you can use voice dictation. You can press buttons. For example, on the keyboard, we've got the Copilot key. So it's like almost instantiating productivity at your fingertips. And it's quick, easy to use, very visible. And again, that spins up a lot of those incredible experiences on the device. And whether you're using touch, voice, typing, or using the Slim Pen 2 to ink and write or draw, you've got that sort of real seamless experience once again. But coming to sort of accessibility, we've designed our devices and our technology in a way that it really enables users of all abilities to interact in the most authentic way possible.
Fantastic. And one of the things that always stands out to me, and I never realised how difficult it could be, is the sort of one finger open capability of all the surfaces. And particularly if anybody's watching this that has an OEM device, see if you can, just with it resting on a table, if you can comfortably open it with one finger. I didn't realise how much of a difference that could make to someone. And then I've tested it on every Surface device I've ever had since, and it works fantastically. And I think it's little things like that that actually we take for granted make a huge difference to some people. And I'd love to go a little bit further on that, particularly in schools, on some of the features that I guess are built into Windows and the slightly wider ecosystem. Obviously, you get the best of Windows and Microsoft on a Surface, right? But what else is in the sort of Windows stack that matters to our education customers that you find really resonate with customers?
Well, just before going into that, and when we talk about our own hardware, we also support a lot with our ecosystem as well, with the accessibility kit for Surface. So you mentioned opening a laptop with just one finger. With a Pro, it's a little bit different. We build these little sticker kind of kits, really strong adhesives that allows you to be able to open up with your teeth or with stubs and nubs. It means that accessibility is there for everyone to use. So it's absolutely fantastic. But when it comes to Windows and accessibility there, accessibility is built into everything we do when we look at Windows as well as Office. So when it comes to using, say, OneNote, we want to make sure that you have the tools you need to be able to utilize OneNote, particularly for teams in education within a classroom. So it runs all the way through. And there's settings inside that allow for better contrast, as an example, to make it easy to read. You can scale text as well. You have a reader as well to make sure that it can read content out loud for you if you are maybe hard of hearing. So there's many different ways that we cover a lot of students, but generally everyone actually, when it comes to accessibility throughout the entirety of their life with a Windows device.
Fantastic. And actually the kits that you mentioned are the Surface Adaptive Kit. And so if we've got any customers watching that want to try these out, we can get one out to you for evaluation. They are really quite simple in their design, but the amount of difference it can make, and again, speaking with the accessibility teams at Microsoft, that's been massive for some users. So then great pieces of kit. If you'd like to test one, let the team know and we'll get one out to you. They are very cool.
It's like building a ramp to a building for wheelchair access. It's the same thing when it comes to hardware. We want to make sure that there's that ramp to use your device. And it extends as well to our pens as well, where you can use casts around those, and also our agnostic Microsoft accessibility devices as well, where you can use a little central hub, connect all these different kinds of inputs, and make it accessible to everyone too.
Fantastic. And from accessibility to AI, Raj. So on this line of the Pro 10 and the Laptop 6, what sort of features have we got sort of built into the device? I know we've got the Copilot key launched for the first time on these devices. What else is sort of in this portfolio that makes a difference to our customers? And Conor, if you could chip in with how that matters to the education customers, that would be great, or things that maybe don't matter, we'd love to know a little bit more about that as well.
Sure.
So if we could start with you, Raj, what can these do that some devices can't?
Yeah, so we've got these fantastic devices which are AI capable or have on-device AI capabilities, and essentially they've got what we call an NPU or a neural processing unit, which sets them apart from all other mainstream laptops and devices. And what the NPU essentially does is that it's a dedicated AI chipset, and essentially it's offloading some of those high bandwidth AI workloads, processing that on the NPU, and essentially taking the burden off the CPU. So what that essentially does is that, again, you've got that extended battery life, high throughput, lower sort of latency, amazing sort of power per watt efficiency and performance, right? So it's almost like running two engines in parallel, where your CPU and GPU can once again run a few of those workloads, but then they're not burdened, and you're basically offloading most of that AI-based audio, video, processing onto the NPU. So that gives it the power, the performance, and again, you can use it in incredible features like Windows Studio Effects, which are on these devices. So Windows Studio Effects is a great way of enhancing that collaborative experience where you're interacting, say on a Teams call or any kind of video call, where you're looking and sounding your best. We've got incredible AI capable cameras. So say you've got automatic framing where it's trying to figure out who the person is, where they're speaking, and trying to zoom onto you and try to keep you at the center of the frame at all times. Or you've got eye gazing technology where you're naturally looking at the camera even when you're looking away or trying to read notes. Then you've got blurring experiences. So say you're traveling or working on the go or on the move. So again, you are looking and sounding your best. We've got incredible studio clarity mics which pick up the voice. Again, that's noise suppression technology processed by AI, so making sure you sound crystal clear regardless of the background you're in, and you could be blasting music sort of next to the speakers or the mics and pretty much pick up your voice. So those kind of incredible AI capabilities really make sure that you're having that enhanced communication experience, and really making sure that you're always at the center and focus of the workflow.
Fantastic. So there's a couple more things I wanted to talk about and ask you guys about, get your opinions on, customer feedback. One of the big things that I seem to find a lot of time talking about that's become, I guess, more and more important, particularly over the last couple of years, and Surface has always been good at this, but is now superb, is the materials things are made from. So it might be visible on the camera, but you might notice that these aren't made of plastic. These are metal. Why is that important? Right? Why are we seeing metal devices again after years and years of plastic?
So not only is it just important for sustainability for the planet, it's also the carbon impact as well, and understanding as well how a device can last longer. So we talk about not necessarily going through kind of 2 or 3 years of devices, but actually sweating devices. So having it for a longer period of time. And by having it for a longer period of time, it means that, well, you're spending less money, which is great. It creates a higher return investment, but it can also have its caveats where you have wear and tear naturally on a device. We're happy to say that we're one of the most repairable manufacturers when it comes to devices, and we work with Insight and others as well on making our devices repairable for yourselves, but also at home, if you want to call it that, or on site. So if you wanted to, you can replace the battery, the kickstand, the web camera, the ports, and multiple other parts within the device that normally see that daily wear and tear, and it'll be almost as good as new. So that's really encouraging, particularly when we talk about if a student is getting a device one-to-one and then taking that with them into their next stage of life, well, they don't have to buy another device. The device is already covered by all the driver updates that we do, the support that we do, but furthermore, they could just replace the component that they need to if there is any maybe accidental damage or wear and tear.
And it's a really important thing that you mentioned, actually, because we've noticed a trend, particularly over the last couple of years, as the economy has sort of worsened a little bit, is that customers are looking to stretch these devices into what used to be sort of 3-year lifespans to 4 or even 5, and giving them the assurance that, yes, parts will still be available, and yes, you can repair it yourself with just some Torx screwdrivers.
Absolutely.
All the guides are there, it's easy to do, has been huge. I think a lot of OEMs are behind with that at the moment, and that's been a massive selling point for a lot of our customers, both outside of education, in commercial as well. It's been really quite significant. And so one of the other things I wanted to talk about, one of the really, I guess, obvious points of a Surface, is it feels really good to use. And what we encourage customers to do is test them and evaluate them. And I think that's probably one of the most important places to do that are in classrooms or in schools. And so one of the things that always stands out, one of our great customers, Manchester Grammar School, talks about during the evaluation process, the SurfLink connectors and this idea that in theory you could have a classroom or a lab absolutely packed with devices, with chargers strung across the room, and somebody could run through that and like absolutely wipe all these devices out and do thousands of pounds worth of damage in a moment. But with things like SurfLink, it's magnetic and it would just go click and it would be out. So that's quite a nice feature, but people don't necessarily realise that until they test them. And again, they talk to us about things like battery life and how much difference that made. But the point I wanted to make was actually, it's really important that customers test these, right? It's where we get the most feedback.
Yeah.
And they can speak to you guys, they can speak to us. We have units available for test and evaluation. Again, I was just wondering if you could talk about some of the customer experiences, things you've heard, little stories that customers have of once they've trialed these, they tend to fall in love with them, right?
They do, yeah. It's in part also with the materials that we use.
Yep.
So we are classed as a premium device in respect to the materials that we use, the thought process we go through. You mentioned the SurfLink connector. That's one of those little things that we do that many others might not. To then also being really open with what we do behind the scenes and being transparent. So we tend to have kind of two stages when we loan our devices out to our customers, where the IT group of an organization, they'll go, we love this because it was easy to manage, easy to set up, easy to understand in the back end. We even have a dedicated Surface Surface admin center for managing your device within Intune, right? Which is one of a kind in that respect. So IT love us. But then on the opposite end, on the front line of using the device, teachers are using the same device as students, so they have that parity, they can help each other, they can wander around classrooms, they feel like they're untethered, particularly when they haven't got a cable connected, because you have that all-day battery life. But you're able to then use it the way you want and able to use that pen and that experience. And that's why always as well that when we loan our devices, we always provide a keyboard, we always provide a pen, particularly on our Pro devices, so you experience the full length and capability of our Surface hardware. So absolutely, we always get very positive reviews when it comes to our devices. It's almost like seeing and feeling is believing in most cases.
And you've just reminded me actually, one of the nice things about the Surface range, although Pro and Go are overwhelmingly popular in education, there are different devices to fit different people. And actually I talked about how Manchester Grammar had a great experience with SurfLink. Some customers don't like it, right? Because they have USB-C everywhere, they've invested in USB-C, but here's where it's great. You can use both with the Surface.
That's it.
And it's providing that opportunity for people to work how they want, I think, is one of the reasons we find these have been so successful. So a few things I just wanted to talk about was just to recap on like things like one-to-one schemes we can work together on. We've been able to provide these for some of our schools for years and years now. We have different leasing partners we can work with. We have different accessories. We can provide that full suite of options for customers. We can get evaluation units out and test units out for customers, but I think what we want to get across is these are really nice devices. There is a reason why schools keep buying them every few years for the new students that are joining. I think we want customers to be encouraged to test them. And one of the things we spoke about a little bit before that was the sustainability aspect. Obviously the CO2 in producing these is very low, and we have things like the Surface emissions calculator and the total cost of ownership that me and the team can go through with the customer, or you guys can do with the customer, and work out, well, actually, yes, the upfront investment is maybe a little bit higher, but over 3 years, 4 years, not only are your emissions lower, your power consumption's lower, but actually you've realized lots and lots of time savings, security savings. There's a really nice document we can put together for customers on that. And certainly for the next few months as well, we're also running a bit of a promotion where we will, for customers buying a reasonable amount of services, we will do a full CO2 offset. So we can go from sort of low carbon to zero carbon with, again, properly accredited partners doing it properly, just to really get those green credentials really solid, which again makes a difference to some customers. And I think that's been all the main topics I wanted to cover. Is there anything else you guys wanted to add about Surface, about Windows, about AI, anything else you'd like to pop in?
I just want to say that's what you've just mentioned there, particularly about CO2 offset,
Yeah.
CO2 offset, is one of the reasons why we love working with you guys, right? As part of our partner network, we have partners who really go above and beyond and it's like truly do that. And they really have a focus dedicated to Surface team. So we're always really thankful for that, but it also means that our customers are also getting the benefit of a partner that's really cozying around them, giving them the full respect and attention, and taking them on that journey. So yeah, absolutely, just all that.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, we're absolutely grateful for your partnership and your commitment and dedication to your customers. The way Insight goes ahead and really does, starting from, the whole, just starting from readiness to really talking and caring about your customers and putting that level of effort to not just Surface, but, the end-to-end customer experience and how they feel and really transform their organization with Surface. It's commendable and we're thankful for that. So.
Fantastic. Well, look, thank you both so much for coming in today. It's been really great to spend some time with you. Obviously, we'll talk more, but just thank you. And to any customers, please reach out to me, reach out to Raj, reach out to Conor, and we'll support you any way we can. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.